Hello, and welcome to the Pink Group's presentation on social cognitive theory for Public Health 606 at Purdue University. The Pink Group consists of Peyton Cuellar, Jennifer Dennison, and Caitlin Lowe. We're going to start by discussing the history of social cognitive theory, which was developed by Dr. Albert Bandura at Stanford. This theory was discovered after the Bobo doll experiments, which followed children's behavior after witnessing an adult interact with these Bobo dolls. The observations were refined and created the social learning theory from Bandura in 1977. In 1986, the social learning theory became the social cognitive theory, which added self-efficacy to its constructs. And this is now used as a framework in various populations and settings. Now, the social cognitive theory can be used as a guide when behavior change is needed. This is our diagram, which does show how each portion and construct of the theory does interact with one another. And to explain it, we have the primary constructs, which starts with reciprocal determinism, which has three main individual constructs underneath it. The personal construct, which is all of the individual's learned experiences. Environmental, which is a person witnessing a behavior and then replicating that. And behavioral capability, which is a person's ability to perform a behavior based through knowledge and skills. The secondary constructs are outcome expectations, and these are the expected outcomes of the behavior prior to performing it. These can be both positive or negative, depending on the situation. The second one would be self-efficacy, which is a belief or confidence in one's ability to perform a health behavior. And self-regulation, which is broken up into two categories of goal setting and social support. Goal setting is just that, being able to set and achieve goals, which that in and of itself can increase self-efficacy. And social support, where you identify those who can provide support to the individual to help achieve the goals that are desired. Methods for effective behavior change can be seen in case study number 1 that we have from Nami Naziri et al. In 2020, which targeted a population of middle-aged, obese women in Iran. Now, there were 91 participants in this study, where the goal was to increase physical activity within these women. These women were shown an online website designed to using the constructs of social cognitive theory, and was broken down into 6 chapters. Causes and complications of obesity, importance of physical activity, successful strategies and emphasizing self-efficacy, how to set a goal and plan, how to increase self-efficacy, and there was an interactive support group that was created for the women for their 6th chapter, where they could engage with each other and support each other through this program. The women were given 2 weeks to complete the 6 chapters, and there was a significant increase in physical activity within these women. Our second case study is from Zacarias et al., which targeted the mothers of school-aged children in Mexico with the goal of preventing childhood obesity in these children. For methods, these researchers implemented a course and created a course that utilized the constructs within social cognitive theory to teach overall health concepts to these mothers. Session 1 started with a learning of the importance of health, diet, and as well as identifying healthy weights for their children to help establish goals. Session 2 taught vegetable and fruit intake, as well as healthy meal options and preparations for them. Session 3 was learn how to read and understand a food label, as well as recommended sugar intake lessons. Section 4 identified healthier hydration options as well as reducing the sugar-sweetened beverage consumption of their children. Session 5 was learning basic financial principles for saving, as well as how to make a shopping list. These financial principles focused on what to look for when shopping for healthier foods, as well as then in section 6, there was identifying factors that affected maintenance of healthy habits, as well as creating a strategy for long-lasting changes for these women. Now, overall, the results was that there was an increase in nutritional knowledge for these mothers, but there was no change in self-efficacy to limit the sugar and increase the water intake of their children. There was an increased self-efficacy to provide healthy diets and promoting the healthy intake of healthy foods, such as fruits and vegetables, within their diet of their children. And the children did see a decrease in BMI and waist circumference after this program. For our pros and cons for social cognitive theory, we do have under pros that the concept of reciprocal determinism does take into consideration the environmental, behavioral, and personal factors and how they influence one another. There is a focus on the individual, which can be a positive, as they do learn the tools to improve overall, as well as the fact that learning how to set goals can increase motivation, as setting goals that are achievable and then achieving them does motivate people to further set goals that they can achieve. Cons is that there is a reliance on self-efficacy to overcome environmental and social barriers, which can be difficult to do, especially when taking into factor different social determinants of health. Their self-efficacy and self-regulation relies heavily on personal responsibility, which then falls into the paradox of victim blaming with utilizing this theory. And it has been found that victim blaming is not an effective way at changing any behaviors. And then not every individual has access to adequate social support. Some of these cons can potentially be found within our second construct as our second example, as there was no social support that was focused on for these mothers. It was very much on them to change the diets and behaviors of their children, which may have led to some of the lackluster results that was found from that intervention. So critical evaluations and gaps in constructs. This theory does assume that environmental changes will cause behavior changes, which is not necessarily true. It does also heavily focus on learning and ignores biological and hormonal factors. And this is another factor that could have played into effect for our second example, where the researchers didn't look or talk about any overall health implications or any potential hormonal or biological factors that may be affecting these women and their children in their fight with obesity. There is also little focus on emotions or motivation other than in past experiences. This can also be seen again in that second example that we had, where there was no sort of social support group for these women. It was all just placed on them. The responsibility was placed on them, which does have an emotional factor and can lead to less motivation, as it may seem overwhelming for an individual. It is also very unclear how much a person's behavior and environment actually affect one another in reality, as it is still just a theory. And this theory is broad overall, which does limit its ability to be specific to an individual. So other ways to achieve behavior change, there are two different ways you can go. You can either fix or social cognitive theory, which would include addressing emotions and motivation within the constructs of social cognitive theory to help increase the success of some of the interventions, as well as addressing other social determinants of health. Some of those may be larger factors than what the theory allows in the way that behavior is being modeled or being changed within the individuals that are within participation groups. Other theories that can be utilized as well would be a trans-theoretical model, as it is similar to the social cognitive theory in the sense that it does focus on long-term behavior change, as it does have those maintenance and termination stages within the model. But overall, I would like to thank you for all listening to our presentation. I would love to have any feedback or comments that you guys might have in the discussion post below. These are the references that we utilized when creating this presentation. Thank you so much.